And he wanted to take him on every time. Some steps forward, right? So the principle was you catch here, because that second defender. It really affects the way so like, and then sort of flipping around like mine and we sort of set ourselves
any catch pass or games, you've got to insist on the basics being done. Give yourself a chance to engage that.
So like I said, so
just keep watching and see if we can fix it. We'll introduce some rules as we go along.
We're not on the same page.
So boys, just hold it. Are we starting to catch early now? Better? How can we improve it? Get your hands, as you're waiting for the ball, get your hands up. Get your hands up ready.
Anyone got any questions?
So you get in that position, you're looking at the defence line. So Dan Carter's played how many tests for New Zealand? 100 and not five. How many? He's won a World Cup. Always stands there with his hands up. Always. So just do the simple thing. Get your hands up. Let's see that now, boys. Eh?
nice one, Robin.
Carry. Get off the line. Yeah. Ready, press.
Shoulder.
Get Charlie. Hands up, get your hands up. Right. Yes, Chaz, right. This is going red. Much better, boys. Much better. Hands up. Yeah, sort of 10 there, sort of 10. Hands up. Well done.
Go. Oh.
Blue line.
Go on. Back foot. Keep working right. Okay, just come in, guys, for another tip. Inside part. If I go in here, I've only got one option. If I stone is inside now, I've got every option. So I can lift to the outside, he goes to the ground, I pop, I'm here, I can go through. He goes out, gets his hands around, and I can go this side. So after you pass, you've always got to move. So you're catching, passing, supporting. Now if he goes through and pops on through, I can take that space. So you've got to catch, pass, support guys. So you've got to be able to see the number on his back, you've got to be able to see the number on his back. You can see the number on his back, you're in a good support position. So if I'm here, I'll go there, I'm not in a good support position. If I'm too flat. If I'm here, I can do anything. He gets tackled now, goes to the ground, I can clean out if I lose in a real game run. Yeah? You agree? Alright, let's add that in now, boys. You're doing well. Can you come out? You got a ball over there, please? Yes. So guys, just want to come in. So who's over 50 here? Okay, so you used to play the game when I played it. So when I played the game, one of the first things you were always taught was to catch the ball early. The second thing was, then when you pass, your hands go to the target. The third thing was, after you pass, you support. So support means that, if you can come out here, that I pass to you, I immediately get in a position where I can see the number on his back. Because now I can do anything. If he gets tackled now and pops, I can go here. If he gets tackled and goes to the ground, I can clean out. If he gets his hands around, I can come around and support this side. I've got all the options in the game. But what happens now is everyone plays formation. Everyone plays 1-3-1 or 2-4-2 or whatever it is. They pass and they go back here. So they miss the opportunity to be involved in the game. So particularly if you're coaching younger kids, you've got to teach them the basics of the game and be really hard at it. Catch, pass, support. Are you in a position to get a second touch on the ball? It's one of the poorest parts of the game in England, guys. Really poor. Yeah, our players are poor at it. Really poor at it. They miss opportunities to get second touches on the ball. And if your 5'8" gets a second touch on the ball, invariably you'll score a try. Chance of you scoring a try enormously high. Like I saw a guy in a Harlequins jumper. I feel sorry for you, mate. So the little 5'8", what's his name? Marcus Smith. He catches, goes there, and then comes back here. He never looks at the game. I don't know what he's looking at. There must be something good in the grandstand at Harlequins. There must be something good. Hey? So your 5'8", particularly catch, pass, support. They've got to be doing it, looking for second touches. George Ford, when he was 17, I remember watching him play for Leicester Tigers. He was brilliant at it, and he's lost it. He's lost it now because he's taught the player formation. So all the 5'8s now, they catch, pass, and they're coming back in for the next phase. So they don't give the 12 any opportunity. And by doing that, they allow the defenders to double tackle him. Because immediately if I come back here, it keeps that defender out for a little bit and gives him a one-on-one opportunity. So these sort of games are brilliant for teaching it. Absolutely brilliant. So you can change the rules and just really focus on doing that. And for young kids, you should be doing it at the start and the end of every session. Without fail. Right, any questions, guys?
Got some here, guys. First one we've touched on there. How can you support space better?
Yeah. That's the thing. Get in a support position, which is all about seeing the number on the back. You've got to be able to see the number on the back of the player. And it's a simple rule, and it's the easiest rule to follow.
Let's take the third one here. Who reacts to who? Support player or ball carrier?
Well, when you've got the ball, you're always in charge, right? You've got the ball, you've got to be in charge. But what the support player has to do is give you information. Give you information. So as I pass, you're going there, I'm saying to him, drive, go to the ground, place the ball, or pop, left pop, I'm there. So you've got to be giving that information. And you know one of the funny things? This is one of the funniest things in rugby now. You can't text someone on the field. You can't. I've tried it. You can't text someone on the field. You've actually got to talk to them. So it's a great skill to have, to actually talk. So remember that. Even though O2 is the sponsor, you can't text on the field. Yeah, depth of your attack is all relevant to the speed of the ball. So when you've got fast ruck ball, you want to be attacking the line. You want to be attacking the line as much as you can because you want to fix their defenders. As soon as you get fast ruck ball, what does the defence have to do? They're drifting. They're drifting because they're struggling to get in, they're drifting. So they're giving you inside shoulder. So you want to be attacking the inside shoulder, fixing defenders. You fix the defence on the inside, you'll get space on the outside. If the ball's a little bit slower, then you can give yourself a bit more depth.
Okay, 2 more to go up, but we'll go back into the
All right,
game.
any questions, guys, on that? All good?
Yeah. The other two are slightly different subject topics, so we'll cover those the next break.
So next time I come to Cheshunt or Hertfordshire, I'll see great catch pass support players, will I? Yeah?
It's not you need your passport.
I used to live in Hertfordshire. You know Letty Green? Yeah, I've got a house there. Oh, I did have a house, I think it's still there. Local area, all right. Six coming out the back. Okay, what do we want this guy to do? What's his job? So how does he hold the defence?
It's got to look like he's actually going to get it.
He's going to look like he's going to get the ball. So to do that, if I'm getting the ball from here, what I want to be, I want to have my hands up, and I want to change my line. So as soon as I change my line and I go here, I'll bring him into me. As soon as I bring him into me, I create space. So you watch these guys, every time they run through, they have their hands down here. So they might as well be running to the clubhouse and getting beers, because they're not doing anything to the defence. So you've got to be really hard, hands up, and last minute just cut to the inside, pull that defender to you, which creates space on the outside. And there've got to be real options to catch the ball. So again, those little things are the most important things to coach, guys. All right, let's see how we go. Thanks.
Put two players from each team, different coloured bibs. There will be touch turnover. So if they make the touch, it's an automatic turnover. So the challenge creates a different challenge for the attack. Guys, we'll give you the bibs. We're going to give you 30 seconds in your team, so just have a think about how that might affect your strategy, how your tactical decision making, and where you go. Okay, so 30 seconds, put your bibs on, and away we go.
So guys, as they're getting ready, are there any other rules you'd add in now?
You condition the scoring to promote what you've asked them to do. So if they score from a player passing or supporting, 5 points for example.
Yeah, great idea. Everyone hear that? Really good idea. So condition the scoring to the emphasis of what you want to achieve in the drill. Good, yeah. What else?
No one's kicked.
Allow an offside.
Sorry?
No one's kicked. It wasn't live observation. No one's kicked.
Yeah, so allow kicking, encourage them to kick, encourage them to kick. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you or maybe change the numbers so you overload a defence or an attack?
Could do that, get people to drop out. Yeah, yeah. They don't catch early, drop them out.
Yeah.
Get them to run laps. Yeah.
Have an offside player.
Could have an offside player. So when they go to the ground and place, you could introduce a clean-out player, couldn't you? So that clean-out player's not there straight away, it's a turnover straight away. So you make it a bit more chaotic for them and make it closer to a game. So the thing that you... Yeah, change the numbers, yeah, it's a good idea. So you can see just from a simple game like this, there's endless opportunities. But what you got to do as a coach is understand what you want to practice. What's the key things you want to practice? So is it a general thing you want to practice, a general skill, or is it something specific for this week's game, or something specific you need for the season? Then you can create a game like this, and it can be your standard practice. You can start the session with that and have the tactical emphasis on how you want to play the game of rugby. And the more you keep the game like the shape of the game, the better it is. That's one thing that's really important. So the numbers you have in games, depending on how many your squad's important, because you need to keep the numbers big enough so that it keeps the shape of the game. You know, if you go down to really small numbers, you get some good involvement, but you lose the shape of the game. It just becomes like rugby league. Okay? Excellent. So we'll go to the next step. You all right, guys?
Let's get some water on board. Based on that, did anyone From watching the game, anything you saw there, why we might have given him a break at that point?
The players were in the bit because they weren't doing what they were planning.
Yeah, so need a bit of a reset for the players at this point. I think they've just started to get. They've playing a game. A few balls going down, a bit of tiredness, different things are coming in, so we're just getting a little bit of a reset with them, let them get a drink and we'll go again and see how we go. We're going to bring in one of the suggestions, which is a player over for the attack as we go through. So, sorry Nick.
We've just got some questions here. First one, I think you demonstrated it perfectly for us, but what does good co-coaching look like?
So you're picking up a lot of things in the session, so you should always have a lead coach, and then the assistant coaches should be observing and feeding things in on how you can improve either the game or the session. What do you need to work on that'll improve the session? And also assisting by coaching on the run. Yeah, one of the things I think, particularly with young kids, you don't want to be stopping sessions and having huddles. You shouldn't have a huddle in a rugby training session. Huddles are for dressing rooms. Out here they should be moving. So what you've got to be good at is coaching on the run, saying keep your hands up mate, keep your hands up, run a bit straighter there. So the coach's assistant can be doing a lot of that behind the line and the head coach running it.
Next one, for junior rugby, what's the best way to increase on-pitch communication?
Stop them from talking. See what happens. So we did it with Japan because no one in Japan talked. So we used to start a lot of the sessions without they weren't allowed to talk. And it changed because they worked out you actually have to talk. So when you've got a problem like that, make it bigger, make the problem bigger, and then the players will work out solutions themselves. So you might have a number 10 that does all the talking for your team. So start the session, first 10 minutes, number 10's not allowed to talk, see what happens. And you'll get the players to self-organise themselves. Because it's a real problem in rugby at the moment, real problem. You've got to get the players to have better verbal and non-verbal communication.
The next one, how do 3G pitches affect coaching?
That must be from the RFU. Well, you've got perfect conditions, haven't you? You can train all year round, you can do more work, you can do more skill work, players are more inclined to stay out here. It's perfect, isn't it?
Okay, the final one, not from the RFU. My team are unable to transfer skills to game. What are they doing wrong?
Sack the coach. That's easy.
Who was the coach?
If you're training well and you're not playing well, you're not training well. So you're probably not putting them under enough stress. You know, anything in life, you need stress and you need rest to get growth. So you want your teams to grow. So you've got to stress them, you've got to put them under more pressure than the game. Allow them to recover, like you're doing now, and then put them under more pressure. So, yeah, everyone sees teams warm up and they do 3 phases. Where's the Harlequins play? Where is he? So watch Harlequins warm up. They are a brilliant team warming up. They look like they could win the World Cup. And they get on the field and they're absolute shit. because when you practice without any defence or when you practice without any stress, you're not improving your players. You're not improving your team. You've got to have stress. So you've got to train them above the game. You can do that by making them fatigued, increasing the decision making they have to make, decreasing the numbers, increasing the space. There's all different ways of doing it. But you've always got to have stress in your session to allow them to grow and then let them recover, guys. Yeah?
So the learning there is don't wear a Harlequin sock. Some Lions tops
I might have to coach at Harlequin, so I shouldn't speak too badly.
Okay, guys, you ready?
Outside, inside. Turn over, that's 2 I get to here. So as a defender, that's where you want to get. Yeah? You don't want to get before you get there. What's the ball carry got to do now? Then we need a second man over the top. This bloke gets in this snap position before it is turnover. Right? Like a game. Now, if the ball carry will get the big unit. What do you do now? Okay, you go to the ground, just pop. Okay? You've got to the side of the tackle to serve the right top place. Alright? So the yellow otherwise the rules are a little like that. Alright? Any questions? 5 minutes. 5 Well done, good. Need to clean out there. So again, what were you doing there? You should have been looking here. You're on fire, Why didn't we use that 2v1 there? Okay. You had 2v1 though, mate. You're not that slow, are you? Okay, Scott, come on, mate. Get back, get that. Well done, now shift it. Well done, good. Defense, play on, well done, that name, Scott. Okay, red ball, go. Second man. Hey, mate, what are you doing? Second man. Great line. Harry, we want going on left. Good. Get on. Anybody from Chester? Go, play. Second man, well done. Get him out. Good, well done. Yeah, I'm what are you looking at, boys? Play the game. Play the ball. Turn over, turn. One ball. There you go. Gate. Good, well done, good. Inside, he's on his own, turnover, play on, go. Well done. Guys, good work, mate. Let's give them another hand. So guys, the change we made there was that this time if the ball carrier, the defender got here on the ball carrier, like in the game, then the ball carrier had to go down and there was second man. If the ball carrier got to the arms, in the game they'd be able to offload. So that's what we practiced there. And they adjusted well, hey?
Yeah, very much. The intensity rolls as well.
How can you get a team to pass more and use the space more effectively?
Well, it's all about getting in position quickly, getting set early, being square and looking up. Most of the problem when you've got a team that doesn't pass, everyone's waiting for something to happen. You've got to get in position quickly, be looking for the space, communicate early, guys.
How much live contact work should there be in the average session?
So say if you box, how much sparring do you do? So at our level, we do about 20 minutes a week. That'll be quite hard, which is about right. I reckon if you're coaching kids, you got to do about 10 minutes. If you have 2 sessions a week, 10 minutes session. And when they do it, they've got to be 100% ready to do it. So you got to get them ready physically and psychologically to do it. Because when you do that contact, you want them to do it at 100%. And if they're ready for it, their chances of injury is going to be a lot less. And to minimise injury, just make it smaller space. Just cut down the space so the velocity you can run at is smaller. But you need to do a little bit and need to get them used to it because it's a tough game. You know, and the New Zealand sides do full contact on a Thursday. Full contact for 20 minutes on a Thursday. Every side in New Zealand, all their Super Rugby side, the All Blacks, they're used to it. And the players say that, the New Zealand players say if they don't do that contact on a Thursday, they don't feel ready for the game. There's too many sides here that don't do enough contact work. You have to do some, high quality, not a lot. Prepare them for it. Vary the distance. If you're worried about injury, get them closer together. Yep.
The last one we've got on here is in youth rugby. How would you deal with large skills gaps? Would you separate the groups? You mean kind of streaming groups?
Yeah, so basically would you separate into, you know, kind of an A and a B team? Would you separate the kids that kind of understand more? Because, I mean, for instance, you know, I've been coaching the kids since they're 5 years old. You've got some kids that pick up things immediately, and you've got some kids that have been with me all this time, and I've got some kids that have only been there a year or a couple of years, and they're still struggling to understand the game. So how would you kind of, you know, do you think in just concentrating on the kids that don't really, you know, can't really grasp the game as quickly as the others, or intermix them with the kids that obviously using their peers to help train, basically?
So, yeah, it's a great question, because the problem you have if you separate them, the kids who are good are going to go further ahead, and the kids who are bad are going to get worse. So you're going to take away the opportunity for them to improve. If you mix them, then those kids who can't play are going to hold the good kids back. So what I'd suggest, and you know, I coached the club team in Australia. That's how I started coaching. What we used to do on a Monday, so we'd have like 1st to 5th grade. 5th grade blokes were, you know, they were just there for beers. So we'd have 20 minutes at the start of the session on a Tuesday where everyone would be together. So it was good, the not so good players got to train with the good players, and then we do that on a Thursday for 10 minutes at the start. So they'd always have some training together and then separate them into their ability groups. With younger kids I do the same, mate. Tuesday, Thursday, do some together or whatever days you train, and then separate them up into their ability groups. So you allow the good kids to get better. Yeah. You know, because the best coaches are the best players. You know, players learn the most from other good players. So when you got players that aren't so good, if they've got the ability to train with a good player, it helps them a hell of a lot. Great question.
Just one from me, Phil. You're using a football, you're using a half ball, you're using a rugby ball. What's the rationale behind using different?
Again, it's just around what Eddie talks about and what he's looking at in terms of his catch pass stuff. So in terms of different balls, it's just different manipulations, it's different challenges for the players, it's different stimulants. So the half balls and the footballs, you'll pass them differently, you may catch differently, you may look to pass differently. Push passing is probably more prevalent with the football, you're less likely to spin past the ball, so it actually creates a different thing. Eddie, I know you use a lot of different balls in your sessions.
Just make them adapt, test their catching skills. I think it's always good to vary it up, and just for variation, you know, it's easy to have footballs. We do all our contact work with football because they're harder to grip. Yeah, and again, fundamentals of the game, how do you grip the ball? High and tight. So you've got your elbow, you've got your wrist, you've got it on the shoulder tight. You know, how many times you see players carry the ball like that and they get it knocked out? You know, so they've got to be high and tight. And again, you catch the ball early, as soon as you go into contact, get that ball tight. And these balls, when they're wet, they get so slippery. So if you don't grip them properly, they slip out. So they're a great teaching tool. Yeah, when they talk about different sorts of coaching methods, yeah, you go from being directed to non-directed. These give you non-directed coaching because they teach the players to grip the ball properly. Because if you hold the ball like that and you get hit, the ball's going to come out. So you buy 3 or 4 of those, and Bob's your uncle.
Any questions about that?
Actually, just on the timings, you mentioned 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Sort of academy level is often emphasis on 4 minutes, hard as you can, stop, recap, go again. Is that something you?
Again, I just vary it, mate. I wouldn't set times. I'd mix them up. Never let the players know what you're going to do. Always keep them thinking. Always keep them a bit uncomfortable at training. So today, so you might have 4 minutes as your standard session, and then on the Thursday, just say, boys, we're just going to train. Just train until I say stop. And you might have one go for 10 minutes, and they might be absolutely stuffed, but make them work through it. And then give them a break and then train the next one for 2 minutes. Keep them thinking all the time. Stimulate your players all the time by varying your sessions. Don't allow, routine's good until it becomes mundane. And so you've got to have some routine, but you can't allow the players to get comfortable with it. Because again, you want to stress them and you want them to get better. And to do that, you've got to give them stress, guys. Excellent question.
I'm going to go. Yeah, is that magic?
Yep,
yeah.
good.
Go back into the game. What we've done now is just recognising the players been out for quite a bit of time. We've just done some good work with some intensive. We've split them now into 3 teams. So we'll have 2 teams playing, 1 team resting, and then we'll rotate the teams as we go in. Opportunity for the team to observe, see what's happening, see how they can manipulate the team who they'll come up and attack against. It'd be interesting to see if the other teams, when they've played, ask the team who've been observing if they've got any feedback around how they could get better. Might be interesting to see. We're going to go into the same game that we've just been playing with Eddie, but this time what we'll do is going back. So we've increased the game. We've brought people into the contact. What we're still looking for now is some of the key fundamentals that we talked about. So if they score now from a pop, whether that be an offload from one touch or a pop off the floor, they'll retain the possession. They'll get to turn around and attack the defence who's waiting. Okay, so that's what we're going to reward them for from that still play off the floor. Observing what we saw a lot of the time was players were coming over, there was opportunities to still lift the ball, but they didn't take them because we brought a player over the top, so now conditioned that they had to place the ball, so we've given them that option. And we'll look around that support play from Edison coming in and supporting. Is that okay, Eddie?
Yeah. Cool. And again, the more you can have decision making in your training, the better it is. Yeah, and depending on the level of your players, you vary the level of decision making. But always have it so they have to make a decision. Like, just look at the breakdown now. 20 years ago at the breakdown, everyone had 4 forwards to a breakdown, yeah? Remember that? You're old enough. Now at the breakdown, you want as many players as you need to win the ball. So if they're not contesting at the breakdown, you need the ball carrier and 1 player to shift the ball. Now, if they're contesting, you might need 1 player and 1 to clean out, then the 3rd player shifts the ball. Because if you don't do that, numerically, every time you put more people into the breakdown, the more they've got defence on their feet. So you've got to have decision making in every part of your training. So you can never have players just going through and doing things for the sake of doing it.
Eddie, if they make a bad decision, do you wait till the end of that 5 minutes and then have a shut about it, or do you stop it then?
Great question. So if you're encouraging decision making, you have to. Because if you're not encouraging decision making, you're not playing rugby. Then you can't then criticise a player for making the wrong decision. What you can ask them why they made that decision, what did they see to make them make that decision, and do it on the run. But don't criticise the actual decision. Let them make mistakes, and that's how they learn.
Probably best if we give him a bit more space.
Turn over, dump his ball, play it on
Great try, well done.
Groups, see if we maybe get some adult games at different age groups. I think it's balls right
I'm supporting.
Oh, really? But it's
Turn over, too small, play. Appreciate it. Yeah. All the way.
moving South London, North
Hey guys, just want to come in.
West London.
Any comments on that last bit?
When you decide to turn over the ball, then when you decide to bring the other team, does the ball slow down and then recover it, or what are you looking for?
Just say it again, sorry.
What were you looking for in the last one? When you were deciding to bring the other team on, was it the ball slowed down, or you didn't think they were?
We just that transition. Yeah, just that transitioning acting.
So did anyone notice what was happening with the team that were off, where they were all standing? Yeah. When who did? Blue did just at the end. What did every other team do before that? So all the other teams just went and stood in a group somewhere on the pitch. So when the transition happened, they were probably giving up 15-20 metres. Blue team then realised that, and in the last effort they decided to split where they stood on the pitch so they could get people into the game really quickly. So that's no communication from us. That's what they recognised, that they were giving that test. So them sort of transitions and things are a really good way of getting the players to work out the situations for themselves. So giving them challenges like that. And if, you know, quite often in them cases, what might happen is the defence might be up there. The coach may say hold, and bring them guys on. Well, that's fine. And that depends what you're trying to get out of the session. For us, there we were trying to, one, allow the team to go forward, but two, challenge the team on the side to react better in that transition phase to come on. Again, we do a lot of attack and defence. It's important that you do a lot of transition work, because in a game the ball transitions between attack and defence quite a lot. So from our point of view, I agree that we do a lot of transition work from attack and defence.
And the smaller numbers encouraged good support play. You can see the players that were hungry to support, and they stood out in that game. So again, really good practice to have. Again, encouraging active support. Yep.
Any more questions related to what you've seen out there? We've got some questions here. We're going to have a kind of a summary at the end. Probably some of these are better for that one, because they're not so much related to what we've just seen. So
just that last session, leading into it, my sense was from the basic skill levels, the hands ups and the basics were dipping off, that came back again in that last session. And I was wondering if that was your reflection. Is that normal as the intensity and the interest comes back up again? Does it wax and wane a wee bit, or does it normally carry down in the trajectory?
I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to that,
okay.
But it's a good observation. I think the players got a bit more space, a bit more excited, ran a bit harder, and therefore they do the simple things better.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to change the session, And again, that stimulation, change in stimulation in the session allows the players to execute their skills a bit better.
What's the feedback from the players? As in, how does it feel to them? Have they said anything? Because is this what is this how they normally train? Is this the kind of games they normally play? And how does that make them feel different?
That's a good question. I haven't been asked that.
Feedback we're getting from players of the is they're pretty tired. That's one of the feedbacks again. But yeah, it's a great question, and one we probably need to ask. I think it'd be good if we got the players home now. Actually, I'd ask a couple of questions.
Hey boys, come over here.
Is there a coach here?
Who's that? Tom Redfern.
Could be a bit awkward.
So, do you want to ask a question?
I just wondered, as players, how does it feel to you? Is this what training normally looks like? And if not, like, how's your decision making had to change? And is it different playing out of position?
I think there's a lot more tempo. It definitely feels like a cricket game. We're straight into it. Tempo, and there's no time to realign. Whereas probably when we're in training, it's more so going into your positions, playing out where we are, whereas now it's kind of everyone filling in as it were.
What's that done to your decision making?
It's had to cricket it. I think it's forced you to make some decisions where before you might stand out, let others do it for you. Now everyone's involved, everyone's got to make a decision, everyone could be at first receiver or at 9. It just forces you to get involved in the game.
Have you guys got any questions around what Eddie's said to you in terms of any feedback he's given you that you're unsure about or that you wanted to know more about whilst he's here?
So the training we've done today, how much of a week of international rugby would be that compared to actual run-throughs of positional play?
We do about 80% on this and 20% on structured play. Because in Test match rugby, at least 65% of our position comes from unstructured. 35% comes from structured. So the unstructured skills are much more difficult than the structured skills. And we've stuffed up England a bit, I must admit, because they want organisation, the players want more organisation. And we've taken it away from them deliberately, because to win the World Cup we're going to have to be good at this. So it's caused a bit of stress, but it's good stress. And I would say if you're coaching a team at any level, you have to do 60% unstructured, 40% structured, at absolute minimum, to educate them to play the game. And it's probably in most clubs vice versa, at least.
Do you do many drills or such, or is it all good playing?
For some things lend themselves to drills. Like I always think some breakdown work lends itself to drills. Some defence work lends itself to drills. But I reckon the more you can get the game as the base and train the game with clear tactical focus, you've got to have a clear tactical focus about what you're trying to practice. Whenever you structure a game, know what you want to achieve. And therefore it's far better for the players, because in this situation where we're coming back, our ability to have communication is important. Because I can't make a decision unless I get communication from you. So the more you can do that with people who play next to each other, so when you're doing your defence, the more you can have your 12 and 13 working together in defences and talking to each other, the better it is. And the winger there, 9s, 10, back rolls, same thing. Working together in their game order.
Inevitably, in training and or in games, someone will make a mistake that can actually cause a cascade effect. So the whole of the team starts to get their heads down, and then the game starts to go to pot. How can you combat that as a coach?
Yeah. We can't combat it. You've just got to educate the players to understand that the only thing they can control now is what they do next. They can't control what's happened. They can control what happens next. So they've got to be able to switch their mind to what happens next. And so you just got to keep reinforcing that message. So you see a kid, say you're throwing the ball, and he drops it. you just got to keep educating him. Get on to the next game. What do you got to do next? What do you got to do next? How do I get back in the game? And come up with a phrase of how you want to say it, and use that phrase consistently. Because, you know, people get disappointed by the game. When you get disappointed by the game, that's when it starts to cascade. You know, something happens, you drop the ball, referee gives you a bad decision, someone misses a tackle, then you get error on error on error, and that's where the motivation and the team's will starts going down. So it's got to be an individual thing, that every player's got to understand how they get back into the game. Good question. Right, any others?
In terms of that game as well, you just talked about there's lots to focus on. In terms of the game's quite chaotic.
Yeah.
You talked about having your principles, what you're outlining. You in that session then rewarded and consequenced based on what you were looking for ideally around that session. So is that sort of how you would generally do that in sessions and look at that mistake thing as well?
So again, you know, how you set up your games and how you set up your drills, they should be giving feedback to the players. So the game should give the feedback to the players. Do you understand what I mean? So that if he carries the ball and he goes down and the second man's not there, then it's immediate turnover. So you're giving feedback to the players about what they should be doing. It doesn't need to be the coach. So the way you structure that gives feedback to the players. It's like a ball carry. So if you have a pad here, I bet you if he held a pad now and I carried the ball, I could look like I could carry the ball. But I can't. I'm 58. I'm busted ass. So how do you get feedback into that drill? So he holds the pad. Sometimes he's there with the pad and he gives you 100%. Sometimes he moves out of the way. And then you immediately see whether the ball carrier's got proper body position. So in that way you can structure a drill to give feedback to the player. You always got to be looking to do that, because for each skill in the game there's a certain end point you have to get to be effective, and you've got to try to create that in your drill or your game. So there's feedback all the time for the players on what they're doing. And if there's not feedback, then you've got to rethink it.
Can I ask the players then, how much did you get feedback from that game then? Now you've heard Eddie speak, were you taking it as feedback or were you just...
Yeah, we're taking it as feedback. So there's a couple of times when the second player wasn't getting in. And that was the obvious example where the turnovers were coming. That was the most clear example. And it was the same feedback every time, just being lazy about or not just following the guy and that support. Yeah. And by the end, it was starting to get there a lot more. So yeah.
Simple terms, you played well, you got to keep. If you didn't do what was asked of you, you lost them. And that's what happened in the game.
I think just as important on that was then the verbal feedback we got afterwards, because if you get one dimensional and just go in, play with blink, because we missed probably two 2-on-1s, which when we got pulled up on because we're not scanning and actually looking at what we're doing. So it's just as important that next bit of feedback on what we're doing.
I think the same for the yellow bibs as well, is making you play that heads up rugby, it's looking for whether that's a mismatch of right, they're now in attack to look to offload or shift it from that point of contact, or actually allow to dominate that collision, look to target that.
What sort of feedback does that give to the players around those players?
It's making everyone talk, it's saying shift the ball from that point of contact or target there or support through that particular match.
Quick question to the coach, in terms of bibs, that we just talked about, How could you utilise those in your sessions, do you think, in terms of which players you gave them to? What might you use them for?
Pairings.
Sorry, go on, guys. Yeah, you.
An opportunity to take the really good players out of the game for a little while and dampen them down and let some of the lesser strength players come in, especially when you're doing with young kids where you've got 3 or 4 kids who are a lot better than everybody else.
So, you talk about laying them down. What about if we use them better players then and give the bib to a lesser player after that, perhaps, and then said get that better player to coach that player to be as effective as they are? Do you think that might be a solution as well?
Give the bib to the better players and say if they get touched, then it's a turnover. So they then have to bring other players into the game rather than doing it all themselves.
We've used the bib. I coach under sevens. We use it for a game called Magic Man. To give the bib someone that say that's the person that's got to score, so they've got to shoot the ball to him, so they're not just picking the ball and running.
Yeah, it does sometimes as well. We'll give somebody a bib and say their tackles don't count, so get the ball to where that player is so you can tackle the weak player.
Did you have a question? Sorry.
Yeah, it was just to the boys really more than anything else. Basically, what the skills that you've learned tonight so far, how's that? Are you going to take a lot of the skills that you've learned and actually change the game that you play and change the way that you play now and introduce some of the way that you've learned today?
The biggest one that I've picked up that we probably don't do as much is obviously once you pass the ball, we need to follow and stand deep on the guys inside, which is something I've not personally heard before. In terms of we would probably look to either get straight up his pipe and clear him out, or try and fan out and get further out. Whereas now, if we're looking to hover back into that space, to give you the option of being back inside.
In games now that you'll start to
just something as easy as to remember is see his number, right?
Yeah.
Think about what depth you need. When you see his number, that's a clear definition of how deep you need to be. So something as easy as that.
And those little simple cues are important. It's like if you've got the ball here, what's his cue to offload to me?
The defender.
So we're always taught that he has to be able to see my full arm. If he can see my 2 arms, then I'm in the space to catch the ball. Right, if he can only see 1 arm, that means there's a defender there. So the cue for an offload is, can you see the full arms of the support player? Yeah, and again, you'll have a different way of saying that. That's what we say in Australia. But you've got to have those simple cues for the players to go by, and that's what you coach all the time. You know, so he throws an offload, come here, and so if you're there now, I can't offload. If you're there now, I can offload. See, that's a simple cue, because now he's clear, he's in space. So those sort of things are really important to consistently coach, and you get all these small things right, you get the big things right.
How good is it? How do you make the complicated things simple? Because that's not easy.
Well, it's all about building blocks, isn't it? You know, if you get the fundamentals right of the game, and you get people quickly in position, you get them square, you get them set, then it looks simple. You know, the best rugby in the world always looks simple, doesn't it? Never looks complicated. And the best teams in the world, you can always tell how they want to play. Like, there's no secret to how they want to play. And that's the sign of a good coached team. If you understand, if you can watch a team go out there and understand how they're trying to play, they mightn't be good enough, but they're a well-coached team. So that's where you've got to create your drills and your games so the players have got a clear understanding of how they want to play. Because what do you want to create with your team? You want to create them to be stable, i.e. understand how they want to play, but be adaptable. Because they need to be adaptable, because if you get a shit referee, you get a bad ground, you get an opposition that does something a little bit different, they've got to adapt to that. You know, but they need to understand what they're good at, how they want to play the game. Makes sense? Yeah.
What's your best tip for mini rugby to improve players' confidence and technique in the tackle?
Good technique, good skill. Make them skillful.
Is there a particular drill when you've been with minis and
well, the simplest, you can only improve your tackling by tackling at 100%. So the easiest way to start, if you're just there, just throw the ball, you run at me, and I just get used to getting in there. And you can do that repetition of that, and then it becomes a little bit harder, so I come in and hit. So you just practice getting the head in close, getting the feet in. Don't be too concerned about getting everything perfect. So what do you need to make a tackle? Foot in, and your head in close there. So you're nice and tight. Just keep practicing, then you turn that to a leg tackle, same thing.
So starting at that height,
keep practicing that. Simple things over and over again. The players get used to it and reward good tackling. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go into one more session of play and then
Guys,
we'll take some
what we've
questions.
decided what we're going to do is, just based on what we've looked at tonight in terms of the pass forward support, we've split the guys up and we're going to do some 5-on-2 practices, a little bit just continuous games, 5-on-2 like skill zone type activities. What I'd ask you to do is, if you broke up into groups across and observe the individual practices and just start to observe what you're looking for around them principles, what you're seeing. So think about the hands up, the following, passing, follow, support. Looking behind that, can you see the number on the jersey? So break up, have a few observations, it'd be cool to see what you're seeing, and then move back and we'll come back again in 5 minutes.
Good evening. Oh, yeah.
I thought you were coming, but I didn't see you around.
Oh, great, yeah, it's great. Just at the start.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, I'm lucky enough I'm standing pretty much in front of them as you get out of the...
I did some filming, I stopped when I saw you doing that.
Yeah, if you get touched with the floor and just pop the floor again. I might chuck another ball in. Yeah, back out here, behind. Yeah, behind. Go. Soft take. Better, well done. Read. Put the space. Play this one. Play that one. I'm on ball. One down. Get one. Yeah. Play that. Take your ball. I'm on ball. Yeah, push. Push for me, push. There you go. Your hands now. Hands. I'm on ball. Still looking your ball. Yeah, push, Jake, push. I'm on ball. 5 seconds left. Are you ready? I'm on ball. Push me, Jake, push. Okay, how many scores? There's 5 to beat. Can we beat 5 scores, guys? Can we beat 5 scores? You ready, play? Touch there. Play when you got second. Draw him, follow. Please one. Sorry. Wait, 10 seconds to go, 10 to go, 10 to go. Trap, side. Picked up, lovely. 5 to go, 5 to go.
You've had chicken.
Okay, well done, you've got 5 as well, you've got 5 as well. One last roll then, guys, one last roll. 5 new attackers, 10-second challenge. 10-second challenge. Okay, guys,
Guys, what we're seeing here, just speaking to one person and saying definitely not a lot of support play happening. What we're seeing, have we seen the same thing or have we just been chatting?
It was exactly the same thing here. They stopped support and they just filled space.
Cool, exactly the same over there. So we've we talk about supporting ball and supporting space. What's the difference? So we just supporting the space. Yeah, we can support space, but if not supporting ball, what will happen? So yeah, what might you do to the game? What might you do to the game? Scoring. So what do you mean?
Okay, play that one. No score. Play that one.
Okay, yeah. So follow the pass. Maybe double points.
Narrow the pitch.
Sorry, mate. I lost you.
Narrow the pitch.
Narrow the pitch. Okay, what might that do then?
It stops them going wide, forces them to attack the ball.
10 seconds left. 10 seconds left. Play this one. Play this one.
Sorry, something else. Yeah, definitely speed the game. More intensity. Yeah, there's definitely a lack of intensity on the ball as well. Cool, good stuff. Guys, you want to walk over? Just walk over.
Go! Stimulating and they're dropping off, so now they're practicing bad habits. So as soon as you learn something, don't keep repeating it. Change the drill straight away. So you go to 5v3, 4v2, make it harder for them. Don't be afraid for them to fail, but that's how you get improvement. Yeah? So we always try to work on the fact that in any sort of game or drill, you want about a 70% success rate. If it's higher than 70%, it's too easy. If it's lower than 70%, it's probably a little bit too hard. So out of 10 times you do it, you want 7 successes, 3 failures, because the 3 failures they'll learn from, guys. And you can see those guys. I didn't have to coach them. They coach themselves. Like they learn how to do it themselves. And that's trust your players to learn how to play the game. If they're younger, you've got to obviously got to give them more direction. But when they're older and these guys, then you've got to let them organise themselves. And by doing that, they feel better about it too, because they want to come to training and do it themselves, because they're learning it themselves. You came second last this year. 8 out of 9.
9 Any observations from the coaches around what they were seeing? I know I've had a chat with a few of the groups on the way, so anything from what they saw from, and why we might have just done that little practice there, just to break out into that little practice there. I know Eddie's covered quite a bit of it in that. Anything from anyone? No? Cool. Okay. Nick, have you got any questions? I'm conscious the players are really had a long hard session there tonight, so I think we're going to... firstly, before we do the final questions and wrap up, so give the players a massive hand for their efforts.
Guys, we're going to do some final questions, but you're welcome to stay, and if you've got any questions, chip in as well, any further questions. So, first one, what advice would you give to new players to introduce the game later in life, i.e. women, female players?
Run straight. I reckon teaching rugby is so difficult to people who haven't got an understanding of it, so how can you make it simple? How can you make the game simple? So you've got to take the ball forward, you've got to run straight, and you've got to pass the ball backwards. And so just keep reinforcing the simple parts of the game to them, get them that understanding, because it's the spatial awareness that's a hard thing, isn't it, if you haven't played rugby. So have some key phrases you just keep on reinforcing to them about what they've got to do.
Would you take that over a priority than being very technical about, let's say, a scrum or a line-out? Just keep those simple things?
100%. Encourage movement. Encourage movement. Take the scrum and the line-out stuff they can learn later.
How can coaches use what they've seen here back at their clubs?
Well, you know, the guys ran a great game. I think, you know, really good game they ran and added variations to it. And you want the base of your training to be around that. Come up with a game, come up with the tactical areas you want to focus on, and then hone those areas. And the guys were really skillful in changing the laws all the time and giving it simple variations. The players enjoy it. It's safe for the shit, it was shit. It's good.
Didn't like the film.
Yeah, no. And that's right. And again, if the players enjoy it, they're going to come back to training, which is part of the issues. And particularly if you've got 16, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, you've got to make training enjoyable. You've got to make it fun, but challenging. And challenging so they improve their skills.
Where's Carl? Let me come, Carl. One for you first. What law would you get rid of? What law would you get rid of?
The choke tackle.
Choke tackle?
Choke tackle, turnover, scrum. I don't agree with it. I think it's a negative tactic and I'd go get rid of that. Eddie?
I don't mind that, that's good. And I just think the game's too slow. Like, international game of rugby now is 100 minutes. We average 100 minutes, of which the ball in play is only 40 minutes. So 60 minutes the ball's not in play. And what it means is the game's becoming more violent because the players are fresh to hit and the players are getting bigger, they're getting stronger, they're getting faster. I reckon we've got to increase the speed of the game, get more fatigue in the game. And the counter argument is that fatigue leads to more injuries, but we've got to get more space in the game. So if there's not a spinal injury, we shouldn't stop the game, we should play on. Have an interchange bench where you might have 5 players and you're allowed 10 changes. So if a player goes down injured, needs HIA, comes straight off, another guy comes on, the referee doesn't stop the game though, keeps flowing. And that'll get rid of the fact that you can have props who are 135 Ks and can't run. Like, you know, France are going to be monstrous at the World Cup. You look at the forward pack they can have blokes who only have to play for 40 minutes. You know, so we're introducing a new species of player to the game by making it such a power game.
Sorry, just quickly, just to what you mentioned just there, what's your feelings on age grade and size grade rugby?
I think in England...
Obviously in the UK we play age grade.
Yeah, I don't think it's an issue here. Yeah, it's only an issue in New Zealand where you've got a large population of Tongan and Samoans who, you know, at 16 or 26. And that's an issue. Imagine if you sent your kid to one of those big public schools and Billy Vunipolo rocks out for Harrow at 140 Ks at number 8. Well, you're not going to be too happy, are you?
Okay, linked to that, Carl, what law would you introduce?
I'd introduce balls around the pitch. So if the balls get kicked out, you can throw the ball back as quick as you can. Just so we get the game going, so we're not slowing it down for line out.
Okay.
You'll be the next CEO of RFU, I think.
Eddie?
Well, as I said, I wouldn't have stoppages in the game. We need to get more speed in the game.
Where's the scrummage goes on a reset? Set scrum goes down to close the instant ticket. Why don't they actually stand well as soon as the ball's out? Starting.
That's just what the lawmakers say. We've had this discussion with him. We toyed with the idea of stopping the game when the scrum first starts and timing it back on. But does it make that much difference if it's a running clock now? The fact that, you know, you can still play after the 80 minutes anyway with penalties. That's just what they decided to do to make it simple.
Okay. I'm not sure who asked this one. Why did you change tactics and use squeeze ball in the French game?
we needed to make the gate smaller at the breakdown because the contest at the breakdown in the Six Nations went up 55% and our players were poor in that area. So what we tried to do was minimise the contact. So in the squeeze ball you've only got a gate that wide, whereas if you put it down traditionally you've got a gate that wide. So we tried to close it up and it worked to some extent for us. It's something we're going to do going forward, and also encourages the ball carrier to be squarer in contact. Yeah, one of the big issues we've got, and it's funny for me coaching England, I thought I was going to get a big physical team, and we've actually got a small team. Yeah, we don't have a big team. All our backs are under 100k. Yeah, we've got a small team. That we've got to find ways to be inventive now, so we've got to go away from the traditional way that England's played the game. So that's our next 2 years, that's what we're working on, trying to be a bit different. So it's a good challenge for us.
Okay, that's all the questions from here. Any more questions, guys?
Just want to ask the referee, why are we still allowing people to feed the ball? Why is it no longer a competition in scrummage?
Brian Moore. Very Brian Moore's brother.
They're not allowing you to feed it. Obviously, there has to be a hook at the scrum. They're making, obviously, the 9 can stand slightly to his side as long as he puts the ball in straight. I
agree with you.
I think at the end of the day, there's enough things going on at the scrum, and again, you know, do we want to worry about the ball slightly misfed when there's bigger issues to worry about that area? You know, the amount of resets we have and all the rest of it, that's a bigger issue we need to work on.
Going on from that, do you think that scrums, both of them, are now open regularly? Going back 10 years when we always used to come together and get on with it, now with the stages and everything else that goes on and the way of people trying to buy penalties by doing it in tactical light, I think we'd be better off to go back to.
Well, I think society's demanded that, mate. You know, you've got to decrease the chances of injury, to make the game safer, and that's the reason it's done. And I reckon the scrum at the moment, when you get 2 good scrums in one scrum, I reckon it's fantastic. Like you've got a good contest, you've got to be quick, you've got to be strong, and you've got to be skillful at hooking the ball back. So I reckon it's really good. And if you don't want to have a muck up at the scrum, then you've got to take the contest out of it, and then you've got rugby league. So you've got to have the scrum to be messy. The scrum has to be messy, and I think it's the important part of rugby. And I reckon they should feed it straighter too, because it gives an advantage to the other team. So you've got a team that's a strong scrummage and the hooker doesn't have to hook, then they've got 8 people pushing. It's too much of an advantage. You've got to put it in straight or straighter.
On the scrum thing, do you think that penalising the scrums for collapsing is a good thing, or should you just keep making them reset? So
No, penalise it, mate.
No, because it's like anything, everyone wants the ball to come out. Ultimately, if I was playing against a dominant scrum and you just said, let's play on no matter what, I just keep dumping it every time. So eventually...
No, keep resetting it, I mean. So
do what? Why reset it?
You're just gonna...
That's what I mean, you reset when you're kind of like, right, okay, both of them might have gone down, and you've got an idea in your head, then the next scrum you look
really well in a short period of time. It's what the game needs, because players have a great understanding, great empathy of what players want, and ultimately the game's for the players. So, you know, I think you're doing a fantastic job, even though Jake thinks you're crap.
Good. 2 more questions. 2 killer questions.
It's not slightly political, but how do you feel about the rule that our players, English players, can't play overseas and be picked for England?
Best rule. Because you've got to encourage English players playing in their clubs. Like, it's hard enough for England now, seriously. Because every other country now is century control. The players are century controlled. It's only England and France that don't have control over their national team players. You need your players here to play. And the domestic competition, yeah, what is there, 70% English players, which is fantastic. So imagine if you didn't have that rule, what percentage of foreign players you'd have. It would be massive, mate. Because players would go, like someone like Haskell at the moment, has played 80 odd tests, can't get a club in England, but he's desperately trying to find a club in England because he still wants to play for England.
Oh, we'll take it.
Sorry?
Oh, Phil, take it.
I don't know whether you want him, mate. Yeah, I think it's a really good rule.
If you've got a team for a very short period of time, say for instance a county team, what principle of play would you work on the most in that short period of time, and how would you get them to gel quickly to be able to play in a championship?
Yeah, well, we have the problem all the time, mate. So you got to have a picture of how you want to play the game. Then you got to ask yourself, the group of players I've got, can they play the game like that? And then if they can, then concentrate on the 3 or 4 things that's going to make that game effective, and really work those areas. 80% of your time spent on those 3 or 4 things. 20% do the other things, and that's how you get the best result.
Eddie, 100 coaches here. Last thoughts? What thought would you leave with them?
Just love coaching, guys. You know, you all love rugby. Just love coaching, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to try doing different things. And the response you'll get is from the players. If the players are working hard at training, then you're coaching well, generally speaking. You know, if they come and they want to train, then you're coaching well. Because at the end of the day, as a coach, you're a servant to the players. You know, our job is to make these guys play well. And we're all lucky to be in the position where we coach. You know, that's the thing you got to understand, I reckon. You know, if you get paid to do it like I do, you're even luckier. If you don't get paid, you're still lucky you coach. Because if I wasn't getting paid, I'd still come and coach. I'd be coaching local team wherever I live. You know, so enjoy it, want to get better, and don't be afraid to fail.
Thanks to both of you, Carl and to Eddie, for giving it the evening. Thanks to everybody here who's come down. I think it's been a cracking night. The engagement has been absolutely fantastic.
Well done, guys.
Yeah, well done to Phil and Andy. Done a cracking job there. Yeah, really
Thank you.